Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we've got a whole new archetype revealed. We got 2 new archetypes just a couple of days ago, and today we push forward with the first archetype of the new deck build pack. What is this? What is this deck build pack called? This is VS, so it's what is this deck build pack called? Well, now I see VS, so all I can think of is Vanquish Soul, but I can't remember what the frickin' VS stands for. Whatever, it's not that important. It's the next deck build pack after the one we just got, obviously, with Vanquish Soul and the other 2 archetypes in there, Nouvelle and Transcendosaur. But anyway, let's get into it. We've got this whole archetype revealed as the Memento archetype. We thought that based on the artwork, this was going to be a brand new zombie archetype. Apparently it's not, and all I can see is this first guy is a worm, so we'll see how they go. Let's just get into it. We got a bunch of cards to go through. So starting off here, we have Mementoral Tectolica, the Nether Skull Dragon, a level 11 Earth Worm, 5,000 for the stats. It cannot be normal summoned or set. It must be special summoned from hand or graveyard by shuffling 5 other Memento monsters with different names from your hand and or graveyard into the deck or extra deck. Okay, so they do list extra deck specifically. That's cool. Interesting. So it is a pretty hefty cost to summon him, but he's 5k already, so that's already something to keep in mind. First effect, if you control no other monsters, this card can attack all opponents' monsters once each. Holy crap. Okay. Second effect, once per turn, if your opponent activates a card or effect, you can special summon a Memento monster from your hand or graveyard. That's also pretty good. Now, the only gripe I have on this effect is that this guy needs to shuffle back 5 different names just to summon himself, and then you need to have another name in rotation. But that being said, it is a pretty good effect. It reminds me of the new Ninja Fusion. Which one is that? That one is... Oh, I'm blanking on names. The names are killing me right now. The new Contact Fusion. When your opponent activates a card or effect, you can summon a ninja from deck. It's kind of like that, but from hand or graveyard. That's pretty good. I think all in all, this is a pretty good card. Now, the question is going to be how easy can we set up that summoning condition and facilitate him? But I do think he seems like a pretty good card. Okay, next up here we have Memento Horn Dragon. This guy looks crazy. Okay. Level 8 Darker Dragon effect monster, 2850, 2350. Is that the exact stat line of, is it Zora the Mant? That old vanilla monster? I think it is, but I'm not 100% sure on that, but we'll see. Okay, if you have 3 or more Memento monsters with different names in your graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand. Okay, so again, needs those different names. You do need to get some setup in there. If this card on the field is destroyed by card effect, specifically by card effect, you can target 3 face-up cards on the field, including at least 1 Memento card you control, destroy them. Okay, so if you can pop him with something, then you can also pop 3 more cards. One of them has to be your own Memento card, but everything else is fair game. Okay, interesting. I'm not sure exactly where we're going at so far with this archetype, but we're getting there. Next up here we have Memento Tatsunutoshigo. This is a level 5 Earth Beast effect monster. 1350, 1600. You can only use the first and second effects of this card once per turn. If you control no face-up monsters other than Memento monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. Okay, jumps out of hand kind of easily. And second effect, during your main phase, you can destroy 1 Memento monster you control, and if you do, send any number of Memento monsters with different names whose total levels are equal to or lower than the destroyed monster's original level from your deck to the graveyard. So I like that because he can also pop himself, so he can even just jump on the field and then pop himself and send 5 levels worth of Memento monsters, which could be, we'll see, 2, maybe 3 different monsters, which is pretty important, apparently, according to Horn Dragon and your Nether Skull Dragon. Okay, cool. That's a pretty good extender engine card. Next up here we have Memento Fair Witch. This is a level 3 Dark Spellcaster, 800, 1000. Again, is this the same stat line for the Vassals? I think we just recently saw a vassal stat line. 800 attack, 1000 defense, I think is relevant somewhat. Okay, well, we'll see. You can only use the first and second effect of this card once per turn. If this card is normal summoned or special summoned, you can add a Memento monster from deck to hand. Okay, we've got a Stratos here. There we go, some actual engine pushers. You can target a level 2 or lower Memento monster in graveyard, destroy a Memento monster you control, and if you do, special summon the targeted monster. Okay, that seems pretty good, all things considering. Okay. Very cool. I love the artwork on this one, by the way. This one might be my favorite artwork so far. Moving on here, we have Memento Mace. This is a level 1 light fairy. Okay. Okay. By the way, she was a spellcaster. He's a beast. He's a dragon. We're all different types and attributes, so Tikaboo seems pretty hot here. Here we go. First and second effects are hard once per turns. First effect, during your opponent's main phase, if you control her... Oh, no, I'm sorry. Nether Skull Dragon. Quick effect, you can discard this card, target a face-up monster your opponent controls, take control of it till the end of until the end phase. Wow. Okay, so a quick snatch steal if you just control your Nether Skull Dragon. So I guess if this deck has a turn 1 line, that line is just summon Nether Skull and end with Mace in hand, because that's already a pretty decent interruption. Okay. Second effect, during your main phase, you can destroy one Memento monster you control, and if you add a Memento card from your deck to your hand. Okay, so that's just on field. So you could also just normal summon this, or if you have another way to summon this, that's pretty good, like reborning it off of Fair Witch. That's actually pretty good as well, giving you not only a way to destroy something like Beast, but also get yourself another search as well. Interesting. Okay, cool. All right, and it looks like the last main deck monster we have here is Memento Goblin. I love this guy. He just looks like a Skeletor version of the little chimp from like Fake Trap, I think, is who I'm thinking of here, but I don't know. It kind of seems like the basis of this archetype. They kind of have like the skull versions of old classic cards that we know from Yu-Gi-Oh's history. I don't know Fair Witch as well, to be honest. I'm not going to lie, but this reminds me of a Ghost Girl. This reminds me... Oh, what does this remind me of? I'm not exactly sure on this guy either, but this reminds me of Zero the Mant, and I guess this guy's probably some maybe 5-headed dragon. I'm not even sure, but skeleton version. That's a really cool theme, I think. Okay, very cool. So this guy has 2 hard ones return effects. He's a level 1 Dark Fiend, 400. During the main phase, if you control the Nether Skull Dragon, quick effect, discard this card. Your opponent cannot target Memento monsters you control with card effects this turn. Okay, just a mediocre protection on targeting effect for the rest of the turn. That's fine. Second effect, during the main phase, you can destroy one Memento monster you control, and if you do, send up to 2 Memento cards with different names from each other from your deck to the graveyard. Interesting, gives you a double Foolish Burial there. Again, maybe another card that just helps you get the requirements for your Nether Skull, because that seems to be the basis of the deck, is kind of just get Nether Skull going. But that's cool. I also like that there's a good amount of Foolish Burialness going on, because my question here with Nether Skull was, okay, he only summons from hand or grave with that kind of reaction effect. But how are you guaranteed to like get the best ones set up? And with these multiple different kind of like Foolish Burial effects, this does kind of give me a little more hope that you can set him up for that, which is very cool. Okay, let's move on. We move to a field spell. This is Nether Skull Temple Mementoran. This is a field spell. Second effect's a hard once per turn. If your Memento monster battles, your opponent can activate spell or trap cards till the end of the damage step. Okay, like a mediocre like battle phase protection effect, I guess. It's fine. If a monster or monsters you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, target one of them, special summon a Memento monster with a lower level from your hand or graveyard. Again, kind of feels more like just an okay float effect. I mean, I guess your engine seems to have ways to pop their own monsters to get certain effects, and then I guess they can get you another reborn off of that, but still seems more of like at most an extender, but definitely not a starter. And the third effect, once per turn during the end phase, target a Memento, spell, or trap engrave, set it. Now that one's a little more interesting because, I mean, it is only your phase, your end phase, not both yours and your opponent, so it loses a little bit of value there, but that's still not bad, especially if the deck has ways that you want to fire off Memento spells and traps turn 1 early and then still get them back, and especially if they're activatable on the opponent's turn. Speaking of which, we have Memento Bone Party, a quick play spell. 2 hard once per turn effects. The first one says destroy a memento monster in your hand or face up on field, and if you do, take a memento monster with a different name from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it in defense position. Now this does not ignore summoning conditions, so it appears you cannot summon Nether Skull this way because he says must be special summoned via his own effect, so this does not get him out unfortunately, but still seems like a pretty good card altogether. Second effect, during your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target a memento monster you control. If it attacks a defenseless monster this turn, inflicts piercing. That's fine. Okay, piercing damage on a battle thing. Cool. Then we have Memento Bone Back. A lot of bone stuff going on here. Another quick play. 2 hard ones per turn effects. The first one says if a face-up memento monster you control leaves the field by your opponent, so that would be by battle or an effect activated by your opponent, you can special summon a Nether Skull Dragon from your hand or deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. So just a worse version of this. It requires your opponent to remove something for you to be able to activate it. And second effect, if your opponent moves a memento monster out of your graveyard while this card is in your graveyard, you can banish this card to special summon as many memento monsters with different names as possible from your hand and or deck. That just seems okay to me. This is way too trigger reliant on your opponent triggering the first effect as well as the second effect, and they'll most likely have seen that you said it, so they know what to play around, unfortunately. Okay, we finished up with a couple of traps here. This is Memento Fracture Dance. This is a normal trap card. 2 hard once per turn effects. If you control a memento monster, target a card on the field, destroy it. Then if you control Nether Skull Dragon, you can destroy 1 more card on the field. Okay, that's not bad. I like that you don't have to like tribute a memento or anything. It's just pop, and then if you had Nether Skull, pop another. That's pretty good. Second effect, when an attack is declared involving your memento monster and an opponent's monster, you can banish this card from grave. All face-up monsters your opponent controls lose 1,000 attack until the end of this turn. That's fine. Just a nifty little battle trick at the end there. Totally cool. This one's actually not bad, I think. This is one of the better cards for sure. Now, I don't think I saw anything that just straight up searched a memento spell or trap. So that'd be my bigger question here, because even she only searches monsters. So my question would be more so, can we get a way to search spells and traps? Then this card becomes a lot more interesting. And the last card we have here is Memento Cranium Burst, a continuous trap. You can only use the second effect once per chain, but not once per turn. Your opponent's monsters must attack the memento monster you control with the highest attack, if able, while you control any. And the second effect, when your opponent activates a monster effect on field, you can target a Nether Skull Dragon you control. It loses 1,000 attack and defense, and if it does, negate that effect. This card just seems really, really mid. The first effect is, I don't want to say 100% irrelevant, but 90 to 95% irrelevant, I would probably say. And the second effect, it just seems like the deck, like this card wants to be too reliant on having Nether Skull Dragon. A couple of these cards, like I said, the last trap is a little better because at worst it's like a dry and just pop 1. But at best it's a pop 2. And the difference between pop 1 and pop 2 is ginormous. So it seems like the deck has a little bit of that like rescue ace presence, where like having Hydrant on the field really makes their interruptive cards a lot better. But can the deck function without it? We've seen Rescue Ace do that in the OCG. Is this deck going to be able to function with... Whoa, hold on. I just realized. Maybe this card's crazy. Because the second effect is once per chain, you just get to negate any monster effect multiple times, and he's 5,000 attacks. So technically, him with this card set up is 5,000 or 5 negates potentially. Now there's some gripes there. I've talked about how Nether Skull Dragon seems a little bit harder to summon than you'd want your main boss monster to be, and also the deck doesn't have a spell or trap searcher, so that's an issue for just getting them both set up in general anyway. But if we can get them set up, that's cool, and that's something I'll keep an eye on. Last thing here is it's important to keep in mind that they had a card that says like return your Mementos back to deck, monsters to deck and extra deck, but we haven't seen an extra deck monster yet. Yeah, this guy only summons. He returns them to deck and extra deck, but we haven't seen a Memento extra deck monster yet, which reminds me this is 001, 002, 003, 5 or 4. We're missing another monster, one more monster here. I'm assuming that might be a level 4 since we have a 5 here and a 3 here. My guess would be we have a level 4 coming, and then we will be done with the first wave of reveals for this archetype. It's very interesting. I like kind of the basis behind it, is that it has a lot of those classic cards and artworks and monster bases, but then it makes them like the skeletons of those archetypes. So that's really, really cool. But I'm not fully convinced just yet. I think there's definitely something here, but it's certainly not where it needs to be a competitive archetype in the TCG just yet, but we'll see. So yeah, that's it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, let me know your thoughts on this archetype, the Memento archetype, just first initial thoughts. If there's any other synergies or things that are definitely worth mentioning for this archetype, please let me know in the comment section down below. But otherwise, I am out of here for today. Thank you so much for watching. More news coming as we go. We still got like 30 more cards for Age of Overlord revealed, and then now that we have this revealed, we'll get another 2 archetypes in the next couple weeks as well. So stay tuned for that. Very exciting stuff. I cannot wait to bring it to you. But I'm out of here for today. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.